Today's a good day. Drew, why is today such a good day? You may see yourself asking me, even though I can't see you asking me or hear you asking me because we're through a screen, but you may find yourself asking that question. I got some good news. What's the good news? What is going on? What are you telling us? I don't know. Could be anything. I'm just playing. So if you didn't know, this Sunday we're going to do a soft reopening and just try to take things slow and try to get back on track with our regular worship services. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh yeah, that means this week we're going to start up with youth group again. Unfortunately, not exactly. We're still going to hold off on youth group meetings for a little bit because these next 3 weeks, Governor Abbott's going to determine whether or not reopening was a good idea or we're starting to see a resurgence of cases of I can't really say it on YouTube, but you all know what I'm talking about. But what that does mean is we have a date, tentatively. So our hope and prayer is that everything goes well for these next 3 weeks. And if they do, and we get the green light to open up a bit more, we are hoping to start youth group meetings again on May 31st. So why May 31st? Well, first and foremost, Governor Abbott's going to take at least 3 weeks to determine if reopening was the right call. And his announcement for what the next steps are going to be is going to be on May 18th. Now, he may decide to open things back up, and that'd be great. But he also may decide to close things back down. So obviously May 18th isn't going to be a great date. So then we thought about May 24th, which is the week right after, but that's Memorial Day weekend. We don't know what people's plans are. Shouldn't really be any but America. So we determined that May 31st was probably our best option. So right now, that's our tentative date to start things back up. May 31st, 5:30 p.m. In the meantime, I'm sure you guys are going to be having conversations with friends or family members about their differing opinions and different stances on what these next steps are going to look like. Some people are all about opening things back up. Some people feel like it's too early to start things, so we need to take a couple weeks and let things play out a little bit more. Both sides of the spectrum, but I think both have valid reasonings and valid arguments. People are just different. So because of that, there's potential for a lot of divisiveness, a lot of tension between people, especially trying to figure out what the right call is. And I think Pastor Kirk brought up a great point on how the church needs to handle this upcoming season. If you watch the video from this past week, he mentioned that we as a church need to make sure that we are operating in love and in grace to all people right now. And my next question was, well, how do we really do that? How do we go about that? So I went home and thought about it, and I think I came up with 3 ways that we can go about that well. So first and foremost, we need to make sure that we're listening. We need to be listening to people and trying to determine what it is that they value, what it is that is the reason behind their opinion. I personally think that both sides of this argument value life and livelihood, but are just approaching it different ways and have different perspectives on the best way to handle this. For me personally, I'm very blessed to work at the church. I had really no worries about my income or salary not working out. I have a pretty chill home, as goofy as I can be. Things are actually pretty great here. So the idea of a temporary quarantine wasn't a big deal if it meant, trying to flatten the curve and keep people safe. So for me, being closed up wasn't a problem. Obviously, it's not ideal. Obviously, it's an inconvenience. And I guess I put faith in God that he would see us through this and that this would just be a temporary thing, but I should try to do the best that I can. But I recognize that I come from a pretty stable position. Some people, their jobs weren't as secure. Some people are coming from different backgrounds, different home lives, and this quarantine was not ideal for them. So I get why two sides are, making their claims, making their arguments for why we need to open up or why we need to stay closed. I get it. Not everyone's like me. So as believers, I think the first step in extending love and grace during this time is to determine what's being valued, is to listen to people, listen to their different opinions, listen to their different reasonings, and be empathetic towards their plights and why they feel the way they feel. Now, our second point is to be humble. What I mean by that is to recognize we don't know if we have the right answer. It may feel like we do, it may seem like we do, but in reality, none of us know what's right. If we did, we would not be in this situation. Everybody has what are called convictions, and these are defined as strong persuasions or beliefs. Now, these are usually rooted in, valid reasoning and valid arguments, but that doesn't always mean that those valid arguments are objectively true. Does that make sense? If not, I can't really Can I explain it? Basically, your convictions may have a valid point, but that doesn't mean that it's the right decision. We know way too little about this whole situation to determine what the absolute right answer is. So as you're having discussions with friends or family members, feel free to share what your conviction is, what your reasoning behind your conviction is, but I would think twice about forcing or impelling that conviction onto somebody else as absolute truth. The third and final thing that we need to do is share our faith. I think the Bible gives us numerous different ways that we can communicate the gospel at this time, specifically at this time. We know that in Christ, we don't have to worry about what we're going to eat or what we're going to drink or what we're going to wipe our butts with. We know that we don't have to be afraid about what's going on in the world because Jesus has already overcome the world. We already knew that this world was temporary, and I'm not saying this is the apocalypse, but at the same time, what I'm saying is we need to be looking towards things that are eternal and not necessarily looking towards things that are earthly. We know that Christ has overcome the world, so whatever is going on here, we know he's going to make it right. We also know that we can come to him with everything and anything, and that he's going to hear us and genuinely understand us because he's walked on this earth as we have. We are. And most importantly, we know that he loves us and that he is gracious to forgive every sin if we're just willing to come to him. We have the good news. We know where to find the answers to people's deepest concerns and deepest worries right now. So as you guys are having your conversations, listening to what people are valuing, understanding that you're not always right, also be sure to share your faith in what it is that gives you peace and what it is that you're placing your trust in right now. So that's it. 3 different ways that we can show love and grace in this season. So on Friday, we're going to do our live stream at 2 p.m., but this time we're going to do something a little different. I feel like I say that every week, but we genuinely are. So all I'm going to say is make sure you know what's going on around your house. Make sure you know what objects and stuff are there, because they may be worth some money. Sound cryptic? Good. Then hopefully you'll be there on Friday to demystify what it is I'm talking about. Looking forward to it and praying that you guys have a good week. Peace.